Our brain does a lot to protect us, and a big part of that is sometimes expecting the worst to happen. Even when you're experiencing joy, sometimes we stop ourselves from truly leaning into joy because we're waiting for that other shoe to drop. It's almost as if we're sacrificing joy to feel less pain in the future, as if we could prepare ourselves for the worst case scenario. Giving into joy is setting ourselves up for disappointment in a way. It's like when something good happens, that initial feeling is like, oh, great. And then you're like, well, your brain starts to come up with these things that kind of protect you from truly leaning into joy. Because when you lean into joy, it's very vulnerable. It's scary to really sit there and really appreciate, wow, like I did this thing, and without thinking of what could come in the future. When we forebode joy, we minimize vulnerability. Direct quote from Brené Brown. Foreboding is a feeling that something bad is going to happen. So when we forebode joy, it's like we stop ourselves from experiencing joy because we're afraid, we're scared of truly leaning into that. And to feel joy in its purest form is super vulnerable. So what can you do? What can you do about this? It's something that's just going to happen. And what you can do is start to practice awareness around these thoughts. So when something great is happening and immediately your brain's starting to protect you, oh, but this could happen, or wait, you need to be thinking about this. You know what I'm talking about. Start to practice awareness around that. And once you're able to start catching yourself going into these patterns, stop yourself and start to practice gratitude towards what you have. So for example, let's say that you get a new job. And before you're really able to feel joy for that, you're like, but I don't know anything about this position. I'm going to have to learn so much. What if they don't think that I'll be good enough? All those things that really set in, that is foreboding joy. You're not really able to lean in and just be scared and feel the joy. So a good gratitude practice would be, I'm feeling vulnerable, admit it, just state it. I'm feeling vulnerable and I'm grateful to have this new opportunity. I'm feeling vulnerable and I feel grateful to get to meet new people. Just kind of find gratitude within your circumstance of feeling joy to kind of re-trigger your brain wiring. It's already in this pattern of foreboding joy. The trick is to get out of it. And gratitude is a great practice to do that with. The key is to not minimize the joy. It's really to lean into the vulnerability of it, right? It's scary getting a new job. There's so much you're going to learn. You're going to be new for at least 3 months, it's not leaning into the scary part of it. It's really sitting with it and finding gratitude within the situation. I'm so grateful I'm going to be learning new things. I'm so grateful for the new environment. I'm so grateful for the new salary. There's a lot of gratitude that can be found in joyful moments. When we truly allow ourselves to feel joy, we cultivate resilience, we cultivate hope, and we also cultivate trust within ourselves. All this info today that I shared was learned from the vulnerability queen, Brené Brown. If you want to learn more information about vulnerability, I highly recommend reading her book, Daring Greatly. That's where I got this information from. I hope it helped.